Randy, at some point, Tim Brown knocks on your door and says, "How would you like to play with us?" Do you remember that? Do you remember? Did he offer a drink? How did he con you into playing?
I don't drink, so I didn't.
I guess that.
He called me up on the phone and he says, "We need a third baseman." And I said, "I've never played third base in softball." He says, "Well, that's all right. We'll learn." So that was about it.
Had you played a lot of fast pitch? I mean, or hardball? You know.
I played softball in 1961 with a team from Randolph called the Charton Restaurant. And Chuck Bartholomew and Joe Cara were pitchers. You probably never heard of.
First one, yeah.
Yeah. But I played for them for 2 years, 61 to 62. And then 63, I walked into Proto Tool and they took me around to introduce me to people. And they introduced me to Adam Zach and he said, "Can you catch?" And I said, "Yeah." I caught a little bit in Little League and Babe Ruth. And he said, "Well, I need a catcher." And I said, "Oh, we'll try." And that was about it. And then I played with Stravatos for 4 years, I think, until the Jamestown League kind of folded. And then Timmy called me after that.
So you caught Adam Zach. Did he have a reputation at that time? Was he a known commodity?
Adam Zach, as I understand it, before 1963, was very wild. He threw hard, but he was very wild. People knew that he was probably the best pitcher around from 63 on. But when I saw him, he had more control. I mean, he worked on his control at the Y during the winter, and he worked on his control.
So could you catch him? I mean,
yeah.
Did you get a sense that he was sort of as catching him? Did you go to the Y and work out with him and other places?
I did not. No. I saw him during the spring for a few practice games and things like that, and that's about all we saw. But during the summer, he would call me up and say, "I got to go to Erie for a tournament, or Warren for a tournament, or someplace like that," and I would go as his catcher. I didn't always catch him, but because sometimes they already had a catcher and they wanted to play him. But I went because most of those catchers couldn't hold him, couldn't hold the drop or the rise. They were just not used to seeing anything like that. So
I can't imagine anybody new pretending, you bring in a star pitcher for a tournament and trying to catch it.
That was basically the problem.
So that was your role.
Yeah.
Wow. So did he have just two pitches, kind of a riser and sort of a drop?
He had a curve too, but he didn't throw that.
Yeah.
Even with me, he'd throw the drop if he had to, but usually it was just the rise ball because nobody could hit the rise anyway. So.
Did that amaze you? I mean, you were constantly catching something, strike, called strike.
He struck out 27 against Blackstone one night in the Industrial League.
Oh, unbelievable. So, did you call his pitches?
No.
How did you even know which pitcher you were going to throw it?
I knew what was coming. That's it.
So, but really, a riser and a drop are two different things. So,
but he didn't throw the drop only maybe 3 or 4 times during the whole game.
Oh, okay.
Everything was a rise.
Okay, so you didn't have to worry about what it is.
No.
What kind of temperament did he have out on the mound? Was he competitive? I mean, was he kind of intense?
He was kind of high tech or high intensity. People would pick on him about, well, he used to wear a towel around his neck in the dugout, and they'd pick on him for different things, and he would take it personally, but he maintained his composure most of the time.
Did he like being called the king?
Do I like what?
No, did he like being called the king?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's part of the Elvis Presley look.
Yeah.
With the towel.
Yeah.
When you switched sides and joined Tim in Caesar House, you obviously pitched or played against Jim because you had caught him. Was it a little bit easier for you to hit him?
I don't know if that was true or not, but I had good success against him, yes.
Yeah.
But I knew what was coming. I knew it was going to be a rise. But
Yeah, it was.
with the rise that he was throwing, it was going horizontal and then up. It wasn't a gradual up. It was going up, and you just had to lay off anything that was below your belt.
Your team at Caesar House, which had Bags and yourself and of course Kenny and Hart. Well, who else was on? Harnish was at center field, wasn't he? Who's your outfielders? We had
Brian Brown,
Brian.
Harnish. Over the course of the years that we were together, McCain was there, Tommy, several different people. Wally Carlson played with us for 1 year.
That's right, yeah.
Tommy Engdahl was there too. So.
And you, two pitchers, I mean Ronnie and Joe.
At the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was at the end.
Yeah. Jim Everts and Carl Grace was there when I started.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I always got the impression watching you folks that you were the younger guys, and then there were the older guys being Stravatos, that there was sort of an age gap. Now, that may have been just an impression, but...
I think it was true to a large extent, but most of those guys from Stravatos were baseball players. I know Steve Crandall and I were just talking in there. He was a baseball player. Hannon was a baseball player. I think George Parsons was too. And they played baseball on the weekends, and we played softball. That was all we played. But the baseball players went to tournaments in Kansas and all over. So
when you played Stravatos, that, at least from the fan perspective, that was the big game. Big games of the year. Were you, as a team, get amped up a little bit more when you were going to play those guys? Was the adrenaline flowing?
I had played with Stravatos and I knew they were good.
Yeah.
I was kind of apprehensive about being too cocky about them, but no, I don't think I got ramped up. But
you certainly had good successes against everybody, but certainly them.
I had 3 hits against Adamsack one night, but I had 3 errors at third base. So
well, that probably puts
between
you...
Hannon and Parsons, they used to bunt a lot.
Well, again, that was an impression of a young guy myself, where when you two guys played, ultimately it's somebody bunting, hoping to get on base, and then stealing second, and hoping for something. An error, pass ball, something. I mean, that's how you... Small ball, I mean...
Terry Woodfield usually led off for us. And if he got on, which was quite often, fortunately, I would either bunt him or sacrifice him somehow to second base, and then Harnish and Kenny Martin were batting next. And we hoped we got a run, and
Yeah.
it was 1-0 going to the second.
That's funny. I'm glad that's my impression too. So, Kenny Martin. I mean, I played with Kenny at the latter part at Church Lake and stuff like that. I've never seen his equal as a shortstop.
You never saw him play?
No, I never saw his equal. I mean, I played with him.
no,
I was a catcher.
no. Yeah,
I mean,
no.
he was just done in Church Lake and stuff. I played with Kenny. And
Yeah.
just,
As a third baseman, I was playing 45 feet from home plate because I needed that extra space to in case they bunted. And I was like 6 feet off the line. And I worried about what was in front of me and what was to the foul line. And Kenny had everything to the left, so.
never seen such a smooth move.
Oh, yeah.
Just such motion. And your first baseman, Ev.
Matlock.
My God, he's smaller, but what a stretch.
Splits.
Splits.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember a game or two, Randy, where you say, aside from getting 3 hits against Adams Act, you would say, Greg, this one game sort of stands out in my mind as a terrific Caesar House game?
No, there were a lot of them, but I remember the one the first time we played them. I was amazed at how many spectators came to watch.
Jones and Gifford.
Jones and Gifford won. The whole Jones and Gifford lot was surrounded double by cars. They were all the way out the driveway and up and down Jones and Gifford Boulevard. So.
Everybody I've interviewed today has mentioned that game.
Yeah.
And you won.
There was supposed to have been a lot of money bet on it too, but I didn't see any. And I don't know.
Well, only that perhaps Don C. and the owner of Stravatos,
Tony Cardosi.
thank you, may have had a little side bet.
A little, yeah. 10,000, all right?
Yeah, that's something. Well, this has been great, Randy. When you knew this was going to happen today, did you kind of get amped up?
Jim and I went to a lot of games, not in Jamestown, not league games. I probably went 24, something like that.
Really?
And he was always good, excellent.
Jim Adams Act.
Yeah.
Off the field, was he an intense guy too, or was he really?
No, he was kind of laid back.
Yeah. Was he competitive in other sports, golf or stuff like that?
We played golf together too, sometimes. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's competitive. It was he scored well, but he didn't shoot par or anything like that.
Yeah. This has been so much fun, Randy.
No,
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I know I'm not the first one you've interviewed, so
The most fun.
no. Well,
Thank you.